Continuing the Reddit Ask Me Anything thread, there's a question in from vvvulture, who writes, what are some of your favorite documentaries? Well, back in the earliest days of the website, when I was just starting the research that got me into the website, there were some really formative documentaries that changed my outlook and that I've talked about numerous times. The Money Masters being one of those penny-dropping kind of moments where I transitioned from just questioning what I've been told about 9/11 to suddenly, oh, the banking system, the monetary paradigm, wow, okay. So that was a formative one. Century of the Self, Adam Curtis, as I've talked about before on the podcast. Part 1 specifically, I thought, on Bernays, was extremely important in seeing propaganda, and people who've been following my work recently will see that Brock West, my video editor, recently revivified my old podcast on Edward Bernays for the Extras channel, so check that out. 9/11 Press for Truth was an excellent documentary. It's an extremely important 9/11 documentary that absolutely anyone should be able to get on board with. Endgame was an extremely important documentary for me back in the day, a decade ago. There were lots of documentaries like that, so about 10 years ago, where I was watching these documentaries and they were really blowing my mind. The most important documentary that I think I've ever watched, and the one that if you only watch one documentary, if you only listen to one thing I ever say, listen to this. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you can only watch one documentary, it should be Children Full of Life. Children Full of Life. Watch that video on YouTube. That's exceptionally important. In fact, in some ways, more so than any of the other, conspiracy news kind of whatever stuff. That is exceptionally important because that's the idea of the generational change and how it can be brought about. That is really what's important and the only way that we're going to escape constantly being, put upon by the powers that shouldn't be. But I'm not watching a whole lot of documentaries these days, and I'm not sure whether that's because my media consumption habits have changed. I mean, everyone's just concentrating more and more on the quick flow of the Twitter timeline and little 2-minute clips on YouTube and things, so I'm not sure if my media consumption habits have changed, people's distribution habits have changed, maybe just documentaries aren't making it to the surface as much anymore, but I'm not watching as many documentaries these days. So if anyone knows any great documentaries that, I have to watch, I'm all ears. Please leave the recommendations in this thread. Once again, I'll link the comment here specifically in the show notes for this video so that you can join the conversation, and I look forward to hearing from you.